The following is dedicated to a legendary channel supporter, for without her support, I would not be anywhere close to where I am today. Thanks for everything. Rest in peace, Mom. Good evening, campers, and welcome aboard the Starship Arborea. I'm Commander Exorcist. Recently, I sat down to create a complete beginner's guide to using the map tools in Elite Dangerous. I started out working on the galaxy map, but was soon overwhelmed by how complex it was. So I decided to split the project into two parts, and well, here we are. In this video, I'm going to go through the various features of the Elite Dangerous system map and explain how to use it to get the most out of your exploration journey or your general Elite Dangerous gameplay. As always, if you enjoy my content, remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below with any system map tips or tricks that I might have missed. Let's get to it. The system map has undergone significant upgrades and revisions over the year, with the most recent changes adding features for the Trailblazers colonization system. As a general note, we will not be covering the specifics of the colonization process or Power Play 2.0 mechanics in this video. Each of those are large enough topics for their own at another time. The system map is the second of two interconnected map features in the game. It can be accessed independently from inside a ship, via the on-foot commander's control wheel, or through the galaxy map if you have the cartographic data to view the applicable system. By default, the system map displays a complete set of real-time astronomical data for stars and planetary bodies. In inhabited systems, information on stations, surface installations, and factions is also available. There are two columns on the map that provide access to system data. The column on the left shows information about the entire system, while the column on the right shows more specific details about a selected body or installation. The first option on the left is for bookmarks. It functions much like the galaxy map in that there are several filters to help a player narrow down their search parameters. Bookmarks in the system map can be especially useful for quickly returning to a celestial body or installation. Along with displaying bookmarks, this tab also provides the ability to modify them with features that include renaming, deleting, or assigning them to a favorites status, which makes them appear as a priority entry on the main bookmark screen. The next tab is My Colonies, and it displays a list of any location where the player is a system architect. Here, the system architect can view a list of available colonization slots and review ongoing construction projects, including specific station details, available services, and any lists of remaining materials that need to be delivered. Next, we have the Local Fleet tab. This provides players with a quick overview of stations where ships and their inventory are stored. The My Active Missions tab is self-explanatory. If a commander has active missions in the system, then clicking on that mission in the list will automatically plot a route to that location. If the mission is to a station or a surface settlement, then that specific place will be targeted. If it's a mission to search for an item, then a planetary body or sometimes the host star will be selected to help guide the player to the next phase of their mission. Now let's talk about the map modes. Elite Dangerous can display the system map in three different modes: Map View, or Review, and most recently, System Architect View. The Map View mode shows the system layout in a grid style where distances and proportions are displayed relatively. This is the primary way for interacting with the map, as it provides quick access to planetary bodies, orbital stations, carriers, and surface installations or points of interest, also called POIs. Planets that orbit other bodies are shown in a descending column below that object. If a moon or other object is nested, then it will appear to the right of the moon it orbits. The Aura Review models the current star system using 3D wireframe rendering. It is named after the first modern example of a planetaria, created by Charles Boyle, the 4th Earl of Orrery, in 1712. This setting displays the map in a way that represents the approximate size and distance for each body in the system, although it can sometimes feel like the representation exaggerates how close a planet or moon can appear to each other. This mode was added in the Beyond update for Horizons, and since then, it has become an invaluable tool for explorers to get a quick view of the stellar configuration of a distant body before making the trip to see them in person. The Architect View is brand new to Elite in 2025 and came as part of the Trailblazers colonization update. If you are the system architect, then the map will change to show locations across the system where starports or surface installations can be built. Circled plus signs indicate that there is a slot available on or around that body where new stations can be created. The System Information tab shows an overview of the current system's astronomical and geopolitical configuration. This tab's information is the same that is shown on the galaxy map when you select a star. Some key information for non-explorers on this tab is the allegiance, population, government type, state, economy, and security level. For explorers, the star type and star class are important for understanding what kind of planetary bodies are likely to form in the system. For a complete breakdown of the star type and star class informations, there is a link in the description of this video to my Galaxy Map Guide where I go over the different star classes and how Elite Dangerous displays them in the summary panel. Although by the time you're in a system, you'll have a solid idea of what kind of star and planetary configuration you're dealing with, much more than the galaxy map. The next tab shows the active factions in the system. This information is vital for determining the level of influence that a faction has in the system, or for finding settlements aligned with a particular faction that the commander wishes to engage with. The controlling faction will always be listed at the top and separated from the other factions working in the system by a bold horizontal rule. Under each faction is their superpower affiliation, followed by the type of government the faction represents. Factions that are in a state of anarchy, meaning that they do not have an organized security response presence in the system, will always be listed at the bottom. Players do not incur fines or penalties for engaging with personnel or installations that belong to a faction in anarchy. In the case on the screen, I would incur a bounty for murdering a member of the Burian Protectorate or Nokapani Gold State Company. Nobody except the person staring down the barrel of my weapon would care if I attacked the Dijet Council in this system, so they are in a precarious position if I'm looking to loot one of their settlements. If a commander is pledged to a power, then additional information will be displayed in the Power Play Information tab, including the controlling power and other data necessary to fulfill mission obligations in that system. The Points of Interest tab gives the player quick access to the various orbital stations and surface installations in the system. To plot a route to a point of interest, simply highlight the desired location and hold down the action key until a route has been established. Orbital ports display a list of active orbital installations in the system. This tab excludes satellites, farms, tourist orbitals, and other stations that do not have docking capabilities. Landfall planets display a list of landable planets in the system. The planet's surface type is shown as a large background icon. For example, most of the planets in this system are ice worlds, as identified by the snowflake. As a general note, Horizon's worlds are shown as orange buttons, while Odyssey worlds are shown as blue buttons. This user interface theme carries forward for the rest of the system map filters to differentiate between Horizons and Odyssey assets. The Horizon Settlements tab displays a list of settlements from the Horizon DLC era. These settlements are designed for interaction with the Scarab or Scorpion SRV. The Odyssey Settlements tab displays a list of settlements from the Odyssey DLC era. These settlements are designed for interaction with the SRV or on-foot action. Typically, they include elaborate interiors to explore and loot. Mission boards and other station services are often available at these locations, including NPCs that wander the settlements and may offer special missions to the player. The Fleet Carriers tab shows all active carriers currently in the system. A series of icons on the button also shows what services are active on the carrier along with its ID number and owner. The Construction Site tab is another recent addition as part of the Trailblazers update. This tab shows all of the current construction points in the system, whether the commander is the system architect or not. This is a good way to find out if there are any sites that still need resources if a commander is interested in helping to further construction efforts. The final left side tab is the Display Settings, where you can customize everything that the system map has to offer. Simply check or uncheck the desired filter items and they will no longer appear on the map. While the column on the left focuses heavily on system information, the column on the right is focused on details for specific astronomical bodies or system installations. The first icon is the letter I with a planetary ring around it. This shows detailed information about the selected astronomical body. In this case, we're looking at Col 285 Sector TON B21-1B2. So let's take a moment to break down each of these details to learn more about them. This planet is 138,257 light seconds away from our current location. It's always a good idea to check a planet's distance when you first enter a system, because the system map updates the distance as you travel to other bodies. The next data set shows the planet's exploration status. Here we see who first discovered it, who first mapped it using a detailed surface scanner, and who was the first person to set foot on the surface. These will only appear on planets when applicable, although sometimes first footfall will be truncated and not appear although it has been previously granted. Following the exploration data is a brief narrative description of the body's composition. These are standard flavor text blocks, so you'll see the same description for every icy or rocky body in the galaxy, depending on your selected target. Now buckle up, my friends, because we have come to some of the more intricate data sets on the system map, the astronomical information. The Earth masses is the mass of the selected body in relation to Earth. Pretty easy, this one. In the case of our selected body, it is approximately 39% of Earth's mass, which means that its gravity will be considerably less than our homeworld. The radius tells us the object's size. This planet is 5,863 kilometers, or 3,531 miles, from the center of its core to its surface boundary. A bit of math is required to complete the information in this block. To find the diameter, we simply multiply the number by 2, so this planet has a diameter of 11,726 kilometers, or 7,062 miles. Let's take it one step further and use this information to determine the planet's complete surface area. Because we're looking for the area of a three-dimensional object, the first thing we need to do is multiply the radius times itself, or r squared. So 5,863 times 5,863 gives us 34,374,769 kilometers squared. Next, we multiply that by pi, or 3.14, and it gives us 107,936,774 kilometers squared. Now, if your brain hasn't melted yet, finally, we can multiply that result by 4, which gives us 431,774,096 kilometers squared, or 268,275,208 miles squared. That is the total surface area of the selected planet. Personally, I find this information and depth in Elite Dangerous fascinating because it gives us an incredible view of how large the planetary bodies in this game really are. The orbital period of a world is how long it takes for the planet to complete an orbit around its host star. In this case, 734.1 days is a little over 2 years on Earth. The semi-major axis is an astrophysics concept that, in its simplest form, represents the average distance between two celestial bodies throughout the course of its orbital transit. This is typically measured in what are known as astronomical units, which is a standard established by the average distance between the Earth and the Sun, approximately 149.6 million kilometers, or 92,957,130 miles. So, for our example in this guide, the semi-major axis is 0.69 AU, or 69% of 1 AU, which is approximately 103,224,000 kilometers, or 64,140,419 miles. This is the average distance between the planet and the star it orbits over the course of its 734.1 day orbital trip. And if your brain hasn't melted yet, we're moving on to orbital eccentricity, which is a numerical value that describes the shape of a planet's orbit. If the number is 0, then it is considered to be a perfect circle, as we see in our on-screen example. This means that there is very little deviation to the planet's orbital path as it goes around its host star. In contrast, the orbital eccentricity of Earth is approximately 0.0167, which causes a deviation of almost 5 million kilometers during its transit from perihelion to aphelion. It doesn't take much for orbital eccentricity to affect the path of a selected body. Now, as a side note, it doesn't occur in Elite Dangerous as far as I know, but a body with an orbital eccentricity of 1 would be on an escape vector to leave its host body, whether it's a star or a planetary object. The orbital inclination is the degree of orientation in relation to a three-dimensional plane. Inclination is the angle between an orbital plane of a body, such as a planet or a moon, and a chosen reference plane. These range from 0 to 180 degrees, and this, in my opinion, is one of the most important indicators to look for when searching for unique locations to explore and photograph in Elite Dangerous. But why is that? Because planets or moons on an orbital plane with around 0 inclination will typically appear to be face-on to their companion bodies, whereas planets with large inclinations, especially ringed bodies, will tend to showcase those rings as majestic vistas visible from the surface of their companion bodies, as you can see in the examples here on your screen. This is an example of a moon with an orbital inclination of about 90 degrees, which gives us a stunning view of its host gas giant as it orbits. And we move on down to the argument of periapsis, and it's somewhat complicated to explain, so bear with me as I try to break it down. In essence, the AOP defines the angle between the direction of the ascending node, where the orbital body crosses the reference plane moving upward, and the periapsis, the point of closest approach to the celestial body, such as a perihelion for an orbit around the Sun. This angle is measured in the plane of the orbit and helps specify the orientation of the orbit's ellipse relative to the reference coordinate system. So, in the case of the star systems in Elite Dangerous, this degree is relative to the galactic coordinate system. So for our example, this planet, which is part of this star system, orbits at a 140-degree angle in relation to the overall galactic coordinate system. Did everybody get that? Good. The rotational period is the length of the single day-night cycle on the selected body. In this case, 0.5 days is one half of a standard day on Earth, so 12 hours. Axial tilt is the degree in which the planetary body is tilted on its axis. This can fluctuate throughout the course of a planet's orbit, much like Earth, which has a typical axial tilt of around 23 degrees. A tilt of 0 would mean that the planet's axis is perpendicular to its orbit, while a tilt of 90 degrees would mean that the planet's axis lies within the orbital plane. For our example, a tilt of 0.72 degrees is minuscule and means that the planet's axes are perpendicular to the established orbital plane. The Composition tab shows detailed information about a planet's structure. It's not as complex as the Planetary Information tab, but it's just as important for understanding the key features of the selected body. Tenuous atmospheres were introduced in Elite Dangerous Odyssey, and this opened up billions of new worlds for commanders to explore. If a planet has an atmosphere, then its primary composition type will be listed here. In this case, our planet has a neon atmosphere. Just below the planetary atmospheric type is a breakdown of the atmosphere composition. In this case, our planet is 100% neon gas. If there were other gases present, then the atmosphere would be classified by the gas which dominates the majority of the atmospheric composition. For example, a planet with 51% hydrogen and 49% nitrogen would be considered a hydrogen atmosphere world. Now, the composition block breaks down the planet's various geological composition. This information is vital for determining whether a planetary body is suitable for materials gathering. For example, the planet is 68% ice, 21% rock, and 10% metal, which indicates that metallic resources on this world will be in much more limited supply than at other potential locations. The locations block shows the number of human or non-human settlements on a selected world. If there are active settlements on the surface, then the word human or non-human, followed by a parenthetical number, will appear. The Features block shows the active geology stats for the selected planet. If exobiology is present, then the word biology will appear, followed by a number, showing how many different types of exobiology are located on the surface. The same goes for geology. The word geological will appear if there are active geysers, fumaroles, or volcanoes on the planet, followed by a number indicating the different types. The Stored Ships tab provides quick access to any ships that you might have stored at shipyards on the selected planet. The Set Target tab plots a route to the highlighted object, the same as the galaxy map. Add to Bookmarks, well, adds the selected planet to your bookmarks. The Planetary Information tab opens up the planetary details we've already reviewed in a new window so that you can review them while you're zoomed into the planet in detail. Target Focus moves the cursor and view to the selected body. Copy Name copies the name of the selected body to the clipboard. Incredibly useful for pasting into Inara or other third-party tools so that you don't get the system names wrong. Now that we've covered all the functions and information on the sidebars, let's focus for a moment on the map itself. As you can see, each planet has a set of rings or indicators around it that tell us about each particular world before we decide to approach it in a ship. Planets with a light blue halo that encircles them completely are worlds that have atmospheres. The further away the halo extends from the surface, the more powerful the atmosphere. Some atmospheric worlds have a secondary blue semicircle above them with 3 lines protruding from the top. This indicates that it is an atmospheric world that is landable and has active human settlements on the surface. If it's a plain blue semicircle, such as you see on the 6th planet in this example, it is landable, but there are no active settlements on the surface. The 3rd planet on this map is an example of an airless, no-atmosphere world. There is no gradient halo around the world, but it does have the blue semicircle indicating that it is landable. All airless worlds in Elite Dangerous are landable, but the danger associated with landing on these worlds is contingent upon the amount of gravity and the treachery of the surface terrain. As with many features in Elite Dangerous, the system map is a complex beast that requires time and patience to master. It is filled with detailed information that can be instrumental to finding the perfect photography spot or locating your next settlement raiding target. Whatever your mission, if you look hard enough, you'll find what you're looking for via the myriad of features on the system map. I hope that you've enjoyed this in-depth guide, and most of all, I hope that you learned something. These guides are a labor of love for me, so I always enjoy hearing from my audience. Remember to leave a comment below with any tips or tricks that I might have missed over the course of this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe while you're there. That's going to be it for this tutorial. I'll be back next time for more Elite Dangerous guides. Until then, I'm Commander Exorcist. Take care, fly safe, and I will see you out there.